The mystery of the Copper Scroll captivates precisely because it lies somewhere between history, legend, and possibility. A genuine ancient inventory waiting to be solved, it invites speculation, yet resists easy answers. Whether or not its treasures are ever uncovered, the scroll offers profound insights into the turbulent period surrounding Jerusalem's destruction and the desperate measures taken by its inhabitants. As excavations and research continue, the scroll maintains its hold over imaginations worldwide. The possibility that ancient sacred treasures remain concealed, waiting beneath desert sands and hidden chambers, ensures the Copper Scroll's enduring fascination. For historians, archaeologists, and treasure hunters alike, it remains an enticing secret, a whisper from the distant past, inscribed in copper, patiently awaiting discovery. Leaving behind the dry desert caves of Qumran and the mysteries of ancient treasures etched in copper, our journey now takes us far eastward to the tranquil shores of early 19th century Japan. It was here, along the remote coastline of Hitachi province, in what is now modern-day Ibaraki Prefecture, that a curious event unfolded, recorded by local fishermen and villagers, later captivating historians with its enduring mystery. Known as the Utsuro Bune incident, this puzzling story revolves around the unexpected arrival of a strange and beautifully crafted vessel and the obscure woman found aboard. In February of 1803, along the remote coastline near the village of Harashigahama, in Hitachi province, present-day Ibaraki Prefecture, local fishermen spotted something strange drifting toward their shores. The day was clear, with calm waters stretching out across the horizon, making the appearance of this peculiar vessel all the more intriguing. Curious, the fishermen approached cautiously and discovered a rounded craft unlike anything they'd ever seen. Eyewitnesses described it as resembling a large hollow capsule, about 3 meters tall and roughly 5 meters wide. The vessel was skillfully crafted from polished reddish wood, reinforced with metallic plates intricately engraved with unfamiliar symbols, hinting at an origin beyond the fishermen's known lore. Remarkably, the craft also had clear windows, possibly glass or crystal, a material that was exceedingly rare and expensive in Japan at the time, especially for maritime use. Inside the capsule, to their astonishment, villagers found a young woman. She was strikingly different from anyone they'd seen before. Long, flowing hair of an unusual reddish hue, styled meticulously and beautifully. Her garments were finely woven from fabrics unfamiliar to the villagers, rich in color and texture, suggesting either noble or foreign origins. She appeared composed, courteous, and gentle, yet attempts at communication quickly proved futile. Her language was completely unintelligible to the villagers, and no amount of gestures or signals bridged the gap. Most intriguingly, the mysterious woman carried with her a small, ornate box, exquisitely decorated, yet sealed tightly. According to all recorded accounts, she refused to allow anyone to handle, open, or even closely inspect this box, holding it protectively at all times. This secretive behavior only deepened the villagers' curiosity and uncertainty. They speculated endlessly about its contents, perhaps valuable treasures, important documents, or sacred artifacts, but its true purpose remained unknown. Detailed records of this curious event survive in multiple contemporary Japanese texts, all written and circulated during the early 19th century. Each account is remarkably consistent, emphasizing both the peculiar craftsmanship of the vessel and the mysterious nature of the woman and her closely guarded box. This consistency across sources adds credibility to the historical authenticity of the incident. At the time of this encounter, Japan operated under the Sakoku policy, an isolationist approach enacted by the Tokugawa shogunate from 1639 until the mid-19th century. Foreign contact was strictly limited to tightly controlled interaction, primarily with the Dutch at Nagasaki. Any unexpected arrival, especially one from an unknown vessel with an unknown occupant, was regarded with intense suspicion. Local officials and village elders, mindful of potential threats, immediately convened to discuss how to handle this curious visitor. They carefully deliberated over several possible explanations. Was she a noblewoman or princess exiled from a foreign land? Could she perhaps be a spy sent to gather intelligence or destabilize the isolated nation? Or, most intriguingly, might she even represent a supernatural or mythical entity, perhaps from beneath the sea or distant legendary realms? Ultimately, the village elders decided that returning her safely to sea was the wisest and safest course of action. To ensure her well-being, the villagers stocked the capsule with fresh water, provisions, and other necessary supplies. Then, with gentle care, they towed the strange vessel back out onto the open ocean, releasing it to drift away toward the unknown horizon. As the capsule disappeared into the distance, the village returned to normalcy, though the incident left a lasting impression on everyone involved. Historians and folklorists who have since examined the Utsuro Bune incident remain fascinated, though divided, about its true origins. Early accounts carefully detailed the incident, providing remarkable consistency in descriptions, which lends credibility to its historicity. Yet, despite these meticulous records, the exact nature of the event remains elusive. Various theories have emerged over the years, each attempting to rationalize the mysterious visitor and her unusual vessel. Historians and folklorists have carefully analyzed this event, known today as the Utsuro Bune, hollow ship incident, yet no consensus has emerged regarding its true origins. Theories range widely, reflecting both practical historical interpretations and more imaginative speculations. One widely accepted theory suggests that the woman may have been a foreigner, possibly a castaway from a shipwreck. At the time, occasional foreign ships, Russian, Dutch, or British, did venture near Japanese waters, and shipwreck survivors sometimes washed ashore. Yet this explanation is complicated by several factors. First, the craft itself did not match typical maritime construction methods of known nations. The presence of clear glass-like windows and metallic reinforcements was extraordinarily rare for maritime vessels of that era. Furthermore, the symbols engraved upon the craft have never been definitively matched to any known language or culture, further deepening the puzzle. Other historians propose a more imaginative interpretation that the woman may have been fleeing political turmoil or punishment in her homeland, deliberately set adrift in a ritual exile. Her protective attitude toward the ornate box suggests it may have contained something of personal or political significance, possibly even valuable treasure, documents, or heirlooms she was tasked to safeguard. Still, without further evidence or understanding of her language, these theories remain purely speculative. A different perspective, proposed by some folklorists, is that the Utsuro Bune incident might be rooted in earlier Japanese legends and folktales involving mysterious sea visitors. They argue the story shares similarities with earlier tales of supernatural beings or mythical travelers arriving from unknown realms, bringing wisdom, misfortune, or prophetic warnings. In this interpretation, the woman might represent an updated version of an older folk story adapted to reflect contemporary anxieties about foreign interaction during Japan's closed-door era. Modern scholars have also revisited the possibility that the event could be an early and misinterpreted account of an encounter with an unknown technology or prototype maritime craft from abroad. The descriptions of polished metals, glass windows, and a sealed hull appear unusually advanced for the early 1800s. While intriguing, this interpretation faces skepticism from experts who emphasize the lack of concrete evidence supporting such an advanced vessel at that time. Despite extensive historical analysis, no definitive explanation has ever fully satisfied researchers. The event continues to captivate imaginations precisely because it blurs the lines between reality, myth, and historical record. Today, the Utsuro Bune incident is frequently discussed in studies of early Japanese contact with foreign cultures, maritime history, and cultural folklore. It also features prominently in popular culture and speculative literature, often cited as an early example of an unexplained historical phenomenon, potentially involving lost travelers, early foreign contacts, or even, according to some enthusiasts, evidence of otherworldly visitation. Ultimately, the Utsuro Bune incident endures as a compelling historical mystery precisely because it refuses easy categorization or explanation. The woman's identity, her origins, and the strange vessel she inhabited continue to defy conclusive understanding, leaving behind only meticulous yet baffling historical records and a lasting sense of intrigue. If the Utsuro Bune incident presents a localized, albeit perplexing, maritime curiosity, our focus now broadens to a grander, more ambitious undertaking with a far more definitive human element. In the vast and unforgiving Amazon rainforest, the disappearance of Percy Fawcett and his expedition in their quest for the fabled lost city of Zee remains one of history's most captivating and enduring exploration mysteries, fueled by ambition, rumors of ancient civilizations, and the jungle's impenetrable embrace. Percy Fawcett was not just any explorer. He was a figure who embodied the romantic spirit of exploration during the early 20th century. Born in England in 1867, Fawcett spent his early career as a surveyor and cartographer for the British Army, honing skills that would later define his expeditions. With rugged determination and remarkable stamina, he led numerous mapping missions into uncharted territories, quickly building a reputation for fearless exploration. But Fawcett had one great obsession, a dream that consumed his life and fueled his imagination: the discovery of an ancient lost city deep within the Amazon, a city he named simply Zee. According to Fawcett, this city was rumored in native legends to be hidden somewhere in the uncharted depths of the Brazilian jungle. These indigenous stories spoke of grand stone buildings, mysterious inscriptions, and the remnants of an advanced civilization, which, if found, would completely rewrite our understanding of South American history. Fawcett became convinced that Zee was no mere myth, but a tangible archaeological discovery waiting patiently in the dense rainforest. By 1925, after years of meticulous planning and extensive research into indigenous histories and local legends, Fawcett was ready to make his definitive journey to find the lost city. He carefully assembled a small expedition team consisting of only 3 members: himself, his eldest son Jack Fawcett, and Jack's close friend Raleigh Rimmel. Fawcett deliberately kept the group small, believing that a compact, efficient team would move more quickly and through difficult terrain. Their expedition carried minimal equipment and supplies, including basic survival tools, compasses, firearms, and essential food provisions. Fawcett intended to rely heavily on the team's wilderness skills and local knowledge of friendly indigenous tribes encountered along their route. On April 20th, 1925, the team set out from Cuiabá, Brazil, heading directly into the dense wilderness. They traveled initially along established rivers and trails, meeting and briefly staying with various indigenous groups along the way. The expedition's last confirmed location was near a remote outpost called Dead Horse Camp, which Fawcett himself had previously named during earlier expeditions, due to an incident involving the loss of a pack animal. From there, the journey became significantly more difficult, requiring the team to hack through dense foliage, cross numerous rivers, and deal with oppressive heat and constant insect swarms. Despite these hardships, Fawcett was resolute, determined to push deeper into the unknown. In late May of that year, Fawcett sent a final message back to civilization with native runners, stating his intention to push forward into uncharted territory and reassuring that the team was in good spirits. It was the last communication anyone would ever receive from the expedition. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, with no further word from the team. Gradually, concern turned into grim realization. Something had gone terribly wrong. The disappearance of Fawcett and his companions soon captured global attention. Newspapers across the world reported on the lost expedition, turning Fawcett into a legendary figure overnight. The public's fascination with their fate prompted numerous rescue and investigative missions, each one driven by hope, curiosity, and a desire to solve the mystery. Over the decades that followed, dozens of adventurers and researchers journeyed into the Amazon, hoping to discover the fate of Fawcett and his team. Some of these subsequent expeditions returned with intriguing stories and clues. such as reported sightings of white men living among indigenous tribes, or mysterious inscriptions carved into trees, while others vanished without a trace themselves, further adding to the Amazon's aura of danger and mystery. Despite many attempts, no definitive evidence or remains of Fawcett's expedition were ever recovered. This total absence of clues fueled endless speculation and theories. Some believed the men succumbed to disease, malaria, or yellow fever, both prevalent in the region at the time. Others suggested the explorers might have fallen victim to hostile indigenous tribes who guarded their territories fiercely against intruders. Reports surfaced over the years of indigenous tribes describing encounters with white men traveling through the jungle. But these stories often conflicted or lacked verifiable details. In more recent years, a different perspective has emerged from the indigenous oral histories of the Amazon. Some Amazonian tribes describe peaceful interactions with Fawcett, claiming that the explorers decided to abandon their original goal and instead lived among the native people for the rest of their lives. According to these stories, Fawcett and his companions chose to stay hidden, preferring the tranquility and freedom offered by life in the jungle over returning to civilization. Yet again, these stories remain difficult to confirm with solid evidence, adding yet another layer to the enduring mystery. Interestingly, modern archaeological discoveries have rekindled interest in Fawcett's theories. Recent excavations and advanced satellite imaging have revealed large, sophisticated settlements scattered across the Amazon basin, some dating back many centuries before European contact. These findings lend credibility to Fawcett's belief in a lost civilization. Archaeologists have discovered intricate networks of roads, earthworks, and foundations of large settlements that strongly suggest the Amazon was home to complex societies, just as Fawcett suspected. These findings suggest that perhaps Fawcett's City of Z was based on genuine historical realities rather than purely imaginative speculation. Despite advances in technology, the Amazon rainforest remains a formidable challenge for exploration even today. Thick jungle canopy, impassable rivers, and harsh environmental conditions make definitive exploration difficult, meaning Fawcett's precise route and final destination remain lost in the wilderness. Historians and adventurers alike continue to examine old maps, journals, and native accounts, hoping for new insights or clues to emerge. Many consider Fawcett's expedition to be a turning point in exploration history, a bold attempt to illuminate the mysteries of the Amazon that, even in its failure, expanded our knowledge and deepened the allure of the unknown. The lost expedition of Percy Fawcett continues to hold a unique place in history. Fawcett himself is remembered as both a heroic explorer and a tragic figure, his fate forever entwined with the mysteries of the Amazon. His story inspired generations of explorers, authors, filmmakers, and historians, capturing the imagination of millions worldwide. In books, documentaries, and films, Fawcett's last journey is revisited repeatedly, each retelling breathing new life into his quest and its unanswered questions. As the dense jungles of the Amazon guard the secrets of Percy Fawcett's lost expedition, another mystery, perhaps even more famous, rests in the shadows of history, drawing millions with its presence. This is the Shroud of Turin, a simple linen cloth, yet one that has captured imaginations for centuries. At first glance, the shroud might appear unremarkable, a piece of fabric measuring approximately 14 feet long and 3.5 feet wide, bearing faint, ghostly impressions of a man's body. However, the implications of this particular cloth have stirred deep fascination, controversy, and debate across the globe. Kept securely in Turin Cathedral in northern Italy, the Shroud of Turin is believed by many to be the burial cloth of Jesus Christ, the fabric that wrapped his body after crucifixion. The haunting image it holds depicts a tall, bearded man bearing wounds consistent with those described in biblical accounts of Christ's crucifixion, nail marks on the wrists and feet, lacerations across the back, and a deep wound on the side. This image is most clearly visible in photographic negatives, where it emerges with startling clarity, heightening the shroud's mystery and appeal. Despite its religious associations, the Shroud of Turin has always been a subject of scientific intrigue. Its first documented appearance in European history dates back to the 14th century when it came into the possession of a French knight named Geoffroy de Charny. From this point onward, the shroud's journey through history is well documented, changing hands through noble families and various religious authorities until arriving at its current resting place in Turin in 1578. Yet the cloth's origins prior to the 1300s remain unclear, leaving historians and researchers puzzled about its true age and provenance. Scientific inquiry into the shroud began in earnest in 1898, when Italian photographer Secondo Pia captured the first detailed photographic negative of the cloth. As he developed the negative, Pia discovered that the shroud's image was more defined and detailed than the original. This revelation stunned scholars and sparked widespread interest, transforming the shroud from a revered religious artifact into a subject of scientific study. Pia's photographs prompted an array of analyses and sparked intense scientific debate that continues today. The most significant and controversial scientific examination occurred in 1988. Carbon-14 radiocarbon dating tests were performed by independent laboratories in Oxford, Zurich, and Arizona. The results placed the shroud's origin between 1260 and 1390 AD, suggesting it was likely a medieval creation rather than a first-century artifact. While these findings initially seemed to settle the debate, many researchers and believers quickly challenged their validity, citing possible contamination and errors introduced by historical repairs to the cloth. They pointed out that parts of the shroud had been patched and restored following damage from fire and aging, potentially skewing the radiocarbon results. Advocates arguing for the shroud's authenticity highlight numerous anomalies and characteristics that they claim cannot be easily dismissed as medieval forgery. The image on the cloth, for example, does not appear to have been painted or drawn. Microscopic examination reveals no pigments, paints, dyes, or brushstrokes typically associated with artwork from any historical period. Instead, the fibers themselves seem altered, as if exposed to intense energy or heat, creating the subtle, ghostly imprint that remains inexplicable through conventional artistic methods. This strange feature has led some researchers to theorize that a natural, albeit unknown, process may have formed the image, perhaps related to radiation or a flash of light. Adding further intrigue is the shroud's astonishingly accurate depiction of anatomical details. Modern forensic and medical experts have noted precise details consistent with wounds inflicted during crucifixion, such as blood flow patterns, wrist punctures, contrary to medieval artistic depictions of nail wounds through the palms, and evidence of severe scourging. These precise details would have been exceptionally challenging, if not impossible, for medieval forgers to replicate with such anatomical accuracy, as historical knowledge of Roman crucifixion methods was limited during the medieval period. Pollen analysis of the cloth has also raised interesting questions. Microscopic pollen samples found on the shroud include plants native to regions around Jerusalem, supporting claims of Middle Eastern origins. Additionally, soil and mineral particles embedded in the cloth's fibers align closely with those found near Jerusalem and other biblical regions. While these findings are intriguing, critics caution that contamination from pilgrims, relic traders, or simply centuries of storage could explain these particles without necessarily proving the shroud's ancient origin. Yet despite decades of analysis and debate, no conclusive explanation for the shroud's image has emerged. Theories range from the scientifically plausible, such as a chemical reaction involving burial spices or bodily fluids, to more speculative explanations, including radiation emitted during the miraculous resurrection event. Still, no scientific consensus has been reached, leaving the shroud suspended between faith and skepticism. Throughout its history, the Shroud of Turin has remained central to religious devotion and pilgrimage. For millions around the world, it stands as powerful evidence of faith, a tangible connection to sacred history, and an affirmation of religious belief. For skeptics, however, it remains a compelling historical curiosity, an artifact that exemplifies humanity's desire to connect with the divine, even if it was created as a well-intentioned or elaborate medieval work. Today, the shroud is rarely displayed publicly due to its fragile condition, yet whenever it is exhibited, it draws vast crowds. In modern times, the Vatican has refrained from declaring an official stance on the shroud's authenticity, maintaining it as an important relic worthy of veneration regardless of scientific findings. Scholars from a multitude of disciplines continue to study the artifact, utilizing advancements in imaging technology, DNA analysis, and textile research in ongoing attempts to unravel its secrets. In recent years, technological advancements have reignited interest in further tests. New dating methods, spectroscopy, and advanced digital imaging promise deeper insights, raising hopes for more conclusive results. Researchers believe future studies may clarify unresolved questions, or perhaps further deepen the shroud's mysteries. Ultimately, the Shroud of Turin occupies a unique position at the intersection of science, history, and spirituality. It challenges scholars, inspires believers, and continues to fascinate millions around the world. Its presence, shrouded in uncertainty, remains one of the most enduring historical mysteries, an artifact that holds profound significance for both skeptics and believers alike. Just as the origins and nature of the Shroud of Turin continue to spark debate and fascination, so too does the whispered promise of what lies hidden within the Taos Cave. Nestled in the remote Ecuadorian rainforest, this cave system has captured the imagination of explorers and treasure seekers for decades, fueled by tales of lost civilizations and the potential for uncovering extraordinary artifacts. The cave is situated in an isolated region of the Amazon rainforest, an area characterized by dense vegetation, rugged terrain, and challenging environmental conditions that have protected it from casual exploration for centuries. The cave system itself is named after the nocturnal birds known as tayos, or oil birds, which inhabit its extensive network of underground passages. These unique birds use echolocation to navigate in total darkness, adding to the cave's sense of intrigue and mystery. Named after these distinctive creatures, Taos Cave is more than just a cave. It is a vast subterranean labyrinth of tunnels, passages, and enormous chambers extending deep beneath the jungle floor. Its main entrance lies hidden, accessible only through a dramatic vertical shaft approximately 200 feet deep, which requires descending by rope or ladder, a treacherous endeavor even for experienced explorers. Once inside, visitors discover an underground world unlike any other. Massive halls stretch out beneath the earth, with ceilings soaring more than 100 feet high, and walls that appear intentionally carved or polished, as if shaped by human hands rather than natural geological processes. These distinctive features have prompted speculation and curiosity, fueling the cave's legendary reputation. The legend of Taos Cave's hidden treasures first captured international imagination in the 1960s and 1970s. Largely due to the extraordinary claims of Juan Moritz, a Hungarian-Argentine researcher and adventurer. Moritz had spent years exploring the remote regions of Ecuador, immersing himself in the customs, traditions, and oral histories of local indigenous communities, particularly the Shuar tribe, who revered the cave as sacred. According to Moritz, local indigenous knowledge hinted at secrets concealed deep within the cave, including historical records and valuable artifacts of ancient civilizations far older and more advanced than any previously known in South America. Moritz declared that within the innermost recesses of Taos Cave existed an immense underground library constructed of metallic tablets, plates crafted from precious metals, covered in intricate hieroglyphic symbols and script, carefully stored and preserved over millennia. He asserted that these mysterious tablets contained extraordinary information, detailed historical accounts, astronomical observations, and advanced technological knowledge from an ancient civilization that predated known Andean cultures, potentially rewriting the narrative of human civilization in the Americas. His claims were bold and extraordinary, instantly captivating the attention of researchers, archaeologists, and explorers worldwide. Moritz's descriptions of these metallic tablets indicated a level of sophistication and complexity previously unknown in pre-Columbian America, leading many scholars to approach his claims with skepticism and caution. However, his vivid and detailed accounts stirred considerable curiosity and debate within both popular and academic circles. Many wondered whether his discovery could represent tangible proof of a forgotten ancient society, possibly even evidence linking South America to other global civilizations, or at least illuminating a previously unknown chapter of indigenous history. While Moritz initially shared only limited documentation and evidence supporting his assertions, fueling both excitement and skepticism, his claims attracted attention from influential figures and sparked extensive international interest. The allure of discovering an ancient library hidden beneath the rainforest, potentially containing records that could reshape historical understanding, quickly transformed Taos Cave into an archaeological legend, drawing expeditions from around the world eager to verify or debunk Moritz's extraordinary story. His extraordinary claims quickly captured the imagination of people around the world, including Swiss author Erich von Däniken, famous for his book Chariots of the Gods, which popularized theories about extraterrestrial contact with ancient civilizations. Von Däniken visited Moritz, toured the caves briefly, and later included descriptions of Taos Cave in his controversial works, suggesting a possible extraterrestrial connection to the metallic library. While his claims were met with significant skepticism from the academic community, they further fueled global curiosity and fascination with the cave. Intrigued by these remarkable stories, a significant and well-publicized British-Ecuadorian expedition was organized in 1976 to explore and thoroughly document Taos Cave. The expedition included a diverse and noteworthy team: British military personnel, archaeologists, speleologists, and even astronaut Neil Armstrong, who participated as honorary expedition leader. Armstrong's involvement generated considerable international media attention, increasing public fascination with the cave's potential mysteries. The 1976 expedition systematically explored and mapped extensive sections of the cave, taking detailed scientific measurements, collecting biological samples, and examining geological formations. Despite their thorough investigation and careful documentation, the expedition did not find the extraordinary metallic library or any definitive evidence of a lost civilization. However, they did discover intriguing archaeological evidence, including pottery fragments, bones, and stone carvings, indicating that ancient peoples had indeed occupied or visited these chambers centuries ago. Local indigenous peoples, including the Shuar community, who have lived in this region for countless generations, hold the caves as sacred and significant cultural sites. Their oral traditions speak of ancient ancestors and legendary figures who inhabited or visited the caves long before their living history. According to Shuar mythology, the caves represent entrances to the underworld, places of spiritual importance, wisdom, and hidden knowledge. The Shuar's deep respect for these caves adds another dimension to the site's importance, underscoring its long-standing spiritual and cultural value. Further complicating the story, some researchers have suggested a possible connection between Taos Cave and ancient Inca gold, theorizing that the cave may have been used to hide precious metals from Spanish conquistadors. Although historical accounts and archaeological findings confirm the Inca habit of secreting treasures in remote locations during times of conquest, no definitive proof has yet linked Taos Cave specifically to such caches. Still, the idea persists, attracting ongoing interest from professional and amateur explorers alike. In recent decades, numerous smaller expeditions have ventured into the cave, attempting to uncover definitive evidence of Moritz's claims or discover hidden treasures and ancient artifacts. While several teams have reported unusual findings, strange stone carvings, intricate passages, and signs of ancient human presence, no credible, conclusive evidence of the legendary metallic library or vast treasures has emerged. Yet, despite the lack of definitive proof, the fascination with Taos Cave remains strong. Researchers continue to debate the veracity of Moritz's claims and their potential historical or archaeological merit. Some suggest that the metallic tablets might be symbolic references within indigenous folklore, exaggerated or misunderstood over time. Others maintain that Mooric himself either misrepresented or misinterpreted findings, or that the tablets were secretly removed before the 1976 expedition arrived, explaining their absence during formal searches. Beyond the legendary metallic library, the cave itself remains an object of scientific and archaeological significance. Its massive chambers, polished stone walls, and extensive network of passages continue to inspire curiosity. Geologists are intrigued by the cave's unusual geological formations, suggesting a complex geological history. Biologists find the ecosystem fascinating, home to unique species adapted to life deep underground. Archaeologists consider the cave a valuable site for understanding the prehistoric movements, habits, and cultural practices of ancient Andean peoples. Advances in technology and scientific methods may yet reveal new insights into Tayo's cave. Ground-penetrating radar, laser mapping, and advanced exploration tools offer potential for future expeditions to survey deeper and previously inaccessible sections. These technologies could uncover hidden passages, sealed chambers, or buried artifacts, providing answers to lingering questions or sparking fresh discoveries. To this day, Tayo's cave continues to captivate those drawn to mysteries hidden beneath the Earth's surface. Each year, small teams of explorers, researchers, and adventurers venture into its depths, hoping to uncover something that will clarify its secret landscape. While no metallic library has surfaced, the enduring possibility of uncovering tangible evidence keeps interest alive, transforming the cave into a lasting symbol of humanity's endless curiosity and desire for discovery. Whether or not Juan Moric's fantastic claims ever prove true, Tayo's Cave remains undeniably important, a place where ancient folklore, historical intrigue, archaeological interest, and modern scientific inquiry intersect, deep within its hidden chambers, protected by darkness and the silence of millennia. It guards secrets that may yet rewrite chapters of our understanding of South America's past. Until such revelations come to light, the cave waits, shrouded in mystery and allure, inviting future generations to seek answers in its depths. Where the dense rainforests of Ecuador conceal the promise of ancient artifacts, the landscape of Brazil holds a more disquieting riddle, the inexplicable absence of an entire village. Joer Verde, once a living community, vanished so completely that its disappearance remains a baffling historical anomaly, a stark contrast to the potential discoveries within the Tayo's Cave. In February of 1923, in the remote and rugged countryside of Brazil, a group of travelers, merchants, and local farmers embarked on a routine journey toward the small rural village of Joer Verde. Located deep within a region characterized by dense forests, winding roads, and scattered settlements, Joer Verde was known for its isolation and peaceful atmosphere, far removed from bustling cities and towns. Yet as this group of visitors made their way closer to the village that day, an unsettling sense of unease began to take place. The travelers had expected to hear the familiar rhythms of rural life as they drew near, the sounds of villagers tending fields, cattle lowing, children laughing and playing. Instead, they were met with a haunting and confining silence. Concerned by the unexpected quietness, the group approached cautiously, increasingly uneasy as they came nearer. On entering the village outskirts, their anxiety only deepened. At first glance, Joer Verde appeared completely normal. No signs of struggle or disturbance were immediately apparent. Houses stood silent, neatly arranged along dirt paths, smoke rising from some chimneys, as if daily life had been interrupted only moments before. Food was set on tables, freshly prepared meals that had yet to be touched, pots still warm on stoves, doors wide open as if residents had stepped out for a moment, intending to return quickly. Livestock remained tethered in their pens, grazing idly, clearly unfed and unattended for some time. Laundry hung limply on clotheslines, gently swaying in the breeze. Clothes that were still damp. The village school stood empty, with lessons and books carefully arranged, as if awaiting students who never arrived. As the travelers ventured further into Joer Verde, it it became increasingly clear something was terribly wrong. The silence felt heavy, oppressive, and deeply unnatural. Not only had the villagers vanished, but they had done so suddenly, leaving behind all their possessions and essentials, taking nothing with them, not even valuables, money, or personal belongings. There was no immediate evidence of violence or struggle, no broken windows, no signs of panic or chaos. The village seemed simply to have emptied in an instant, as though the entire community had abruptly decided to abandon their homes and lives without warning or preparation. Desperate to understand what had happened, the visitors quickly sent word to authorities in nearby towns, urging them to send help and investigators. When authorities arrived days later, they conducted an extensive and detailed examination of Puerto Verde. They combed through houses and public spaces, hoping to uncover some clue or piece of evidence that might explain where the villagers had gone and why. But the more closely they searched, the more perplexing the mystery became. No footprints or trails led away from the village. No notes, letters, or explanations were found. There were no indications that the villagers had packed belongings or prepared for travel. It seemed almost as though the residents had stepped into thin air and vanished entirely. The only potential clue authorities discovered was an eerie and cryptic message written on the village school's blackboard. In hastily scribbled chalk, it read simply, "There is no salvation." This chilling phrase did little to clarify the mystery. Rather, it only deepened investigators' fears and fueled speculation. Some wondered if the villagers had faced some existential threat, a crisis so dire and sudden that escape seemed impossible. Others suggested perhaps an outsider or group had coerced the population to leave, though no evidence of violence or force supported this theory. This haunting message became a focal point of investigation, yet offered no clear solution. Rumors soon spread throughout the region, as word of Puerto Verde's bizarre abandonment became widely known. Neighboring communities, themselves rural and isolated, were gripped by fear and confusion. Stories and theories circulated wildly, ranging from supernatural explanations to secret governmental experiments going awry, to outbreaks of mysterious disease. Some villagers from surrounding towns reported strange sightings in the days preceding Jorverde's disappearance. Mysterious lights in the sky, unfamiliar visitors passing through roads and fields. Others claimed to have heard whispers and unusual sounds drifting through the forests at night. Yet all these accounts remained vague, anecdotal, and unproven, further entangling the mystery. What made the disappearance even more peculiar was that there were no immediate signs of violence, struggle, or disaster. Homes remained untouched, with tables set for meals, food still fresh, and personal belongings left behind, as if everyone had stepped out momentarily. Livestock were left tethered, crops still standing, and laundry hung on clotheslines. It was as though the entire population had vanished into thin air. The only clue to this sudden departure was a cryptic message scrawled on a blackboard in the village schoolhouse, which read, "There is no salvation." This haunting phrase, written in Portuguese, raised more questions than answers and deepened the mystery surrounding Puerto Verde's sudden emptiness. Soon after the discovery, news of the village's disappearance spread quickly throughout Brazil. Local authorities dispatched an investigative team to examine the settlement closely. The investigators meticulously searched homes, farms, and surrounding areas, but found no clear evidence pointing to where the villagers might have gone or why they left. Although various theories emerged, ranging from attacks by bandits or rebels to outbreaks of disease or mass hysteria, none of these theories had solid evidence to support them. The lack of signs of violence or distress seemed to eliminate many plausible explanations, adding further complexity to the case. Adding to the confusion, detailed historical records about Puerto Verde itself are limited. The village, located in a remote, sparsely populated region of Brazil, had minimal outside contact, making it difficult for authorities and historians to reconstruct the precise events leading up to the disappearance. Its residents, mostly farmers and families living a simple rural life, left little documentation of their existence. As a result, tracing their possible destinations or movements after the disappearance proved extremely challenging. Historians and researchers who later investigated the case found themselves facing numerous dead ends. The absence of direct evidence and the passage of time allowed the mystery to deepen rather than resolve. Some theories persisted, suggesting the residents left willingly, perhaps fleeing an unknown threat or hoping for a better life elsewhere. Others speculated they might have been coerced or forced out by an external danger, though no evidence of such coercion was ever uncovered. Despite the passing decades, the story of Hora Verde continues to capture imaginations, occasionally resurfacing in popular media and documentaries as one of history's most baffling disappearances. While the village itself eventually fell into disrepair and was reclaimed by nature, the haunting memory of the empty homes, abandoned streets, and the message written in the schoolhouse persists. In recent years, researchers and historians have made fresh attempts to investigate the case using modern technology and historical archives. Yet these efforts have produced little new information. Satellite imaging, archival record searches, and interviews with descendants of people from surrounding regions have yielded few clues. The isolation of Hora Verde, coupled with the scarcity of contemporary records, continues to obscure the truth. Today, the vanished village remains a subject of speculation, storytelling, and local folklore. Visitors to the region occasionally trek to the area where Hora Verde once stood, hoping perhaps to find some overlooked clue or forgotten evidence. The lush vegetation now covers most traces of the village, leaving behind only faint remnants of stone foundations and crumbling walls. Despite extensive efforts, the mystery remains unsolved. No one knows precisely what became of Hora Verde's villagers, why they left, where they went, or whether their descendants might still live somewhere, unaware of their ancestors' mysterious past. Like many unsolved historical mysteries, Hora Verde remains a compelling puzzle, a reminder of how easily the stories of ordinary people can become lost in the passage of time. As the abandoned village of Hora Verde faded slowly into history, leaving only echoes of unanswered questions behind, another extraordinary mystery emerged thousands of miles away during the chaos of World War II. This mystery revolved around a stunning masterpiece known as the Amber Room, a luxurious chamber of glittering amber, gold, and priceless craftsmanship. Originally constructed in the early 18th century, the Amber Room was considered one of the most extraordinary artistic achievements ever created. Its loss remains among the greatest unsolved art mysteries of modern times. The story of the Amber Room begins in 1701 in Prussia, when Frederick I commissioned the room for his Charlottenburg palace. Crafted by renowned Danish and German artisans, the Amber Room was a dazzling spectacle, entirely paneled with beautifully carved amber pieces. An astonishing 6 tons of amber and adorned with gold leaf, precious gemstones, mirrors, and intricate carvings, the room became known as the 8th wonder of the world. Its panels depicted landscapes, floral motifs, mythical scenes, and royal emblems, creating an enchanting golden glow when illuminated by candlelight. In 1716, the Amber Room was gifted by Frederick William I of Prussia to Russia's Tsar Peter the Great as a diplomatic gesture to strengthen their alliance against Sweden. The room was then transported carefully to Russia, eventually being installed in the Catherine Palace near St. Petersburg, where it underwent further expansions and embellishments by Russian craftsmen. For nearly 2 centuries, the Amber Room remained a symbol of artistic splendor, attracting visitors and royalty from across Europe who marveled at its breathtaking beauty and unparalleled craftsmanship. Throughout the 18th and 19th centuries, the Amber Room survived political upheavals, wars, and revolutions, its beauty meticulously preserved by curators who recognized its historical significance and immense value. Yet its survival was not to last through the ravages of World War II. In 1941, Nazi Germany invaded the Soviet Union during Operation Barbarossa, and the city of Leningrad, now St. Petersburg, soon found itself under siege. As German forces rapidly advanced toward the Catherine Palace, Soviet authorities scrambled to save their cultural treasures, attempting to hide or evacuate valuable artworks. Unfortunately, the Amber Room was incredibly fragile, and curators feared it might crumble if hastily dismantled. With limited time and resources, they made the difficult decision to cover the precious panels with wallpaper, hoping the Nazis might overlook its value or fail to identify the room beneath. The ruse, however, was quickly discovered. German soldiers, following specific orders from Adolf Hitler himself, who admired and coveted the Amber Room, carefully dismantled the panels, packed them into crates, and transported them to Königsberg Castle in East Prussia, modern-day Kaliningrad. At Königsberg, the Amber Room was reassembled and put on display as a trophy of Nazi conquest. Yet as the war progressed and the Allies began pushing German forces back, the Amber Room once again vanished from history. In 1945, as Allied forces bombarded Königsberg, the room disappeared entirely, this time without a trace. Initial Soviet investigations after the war yielded no clues. There were no clear records of its fate. Rumors abounded, each theory more tantalizing than the last. Some speculated the room had been destroyed by Allied bombings, while others believed it had been secretly moved by retreating German soldiers. Another theory suggested the Amber Room might still be hidden beneath the ruins of Königsberg Castle, buried beneath rubble and ruins, waiting to be rediscovered. Over subsequent decades, numerous investigations and searches were conducted, each driven by hope, curiosity, and occasionally greed. In the 1950s, Soviet and East German authorities extensively searched the ruins of Königsberg Castle, uncovering various tunnels, basements, and hidden chambers. Yet, despite exhaustive efforts, the Amber Room itself was never found. Rumors circulated that the treasure had been moved to secret Nazi bunkers or hidden in remote caves and mines throughout Europe. In the 1960s and 1970s, investigators pursued leads suggesting the Amber Room had been buried in mine shafts, stored beneath lakes, or secreted away in underground facilities, but these explorations yielded nothing concrete. Occasionally, small fragments of amber, claimed to be from the original room, surfaced in the black market, fueling speculation that at least some pieces had survived. Authorities seized several genuine fragments from private collections, but these only deepened the mystery, providing tantalizing hints without concrete answers. In 1997, a detailed tip led German investigators to the town of Deutschleben, where hidden compartments and tunnels beneath an old silver mine were carefully explored, yet again yielding no significant results. In recent years, new theories have emerged, including claims that the Amber Room was secretly taken by high-ranking Nazi officials, possibly even Hitler himself, to remote locations across Europe and South America. Historians have combed through recently declassified documents, hoping for fresh clues to the room's final location, yet the Amber Room continues to evade discovery. In 2003, a high-profile reconstruction was completed and unveiled in St. Petersburg. A meticulous reproduction of the original room, based on historical photographs and detailed records. While impressive, this reconstruction serves as a bittersweet reminder of what has been irrevocably lost. Today, the Amber Room remains among history's greatest missing art treasures. Its story has captivated generations of historians, treasure hunters, and art enthusiasts. Modern investigative techniques, archival research, and exploratory technologies continue to fuel searches, yet no definitive answer has emerged. The fate of the Amber Room has transcended mere history, transforming into legend. Countless documentaries, books, and films explore its mysterious disappearance, perpetuating its allure. Scholars and experts maintain the possibility that someday, perhaps in a forgotten bunker, hidden cave, or secret vault, the shimmering panels of amber, gold, and gemstones may yet be discovered, waiting patiently for the day they can once again astonish the world. Until then, the missing Amber Room remains an enduring puzzle, an extraordinary masterpiece lost amidst the chaos of war, leaving behind an unsolved mystery as captivating and elusive as the golden globe amber itself. With the search for the amber rune fading into the background of history, another mystery from Europe's past emerges, equally captivating and shrouded in secrecy. This tale takes place within the cold stone walls of 17th century France, involving one of history's most infamous prisoners, the Man in the Iron Mask. The Man in the Iron Mask first appeared in historical records around 1669 during the reign of King Louis XIV, famously known as the Sun King. At this time, Louis XIV ruled with absolute authority, a period marked by power struggles, political intrigue, and secretive dealings within the French royal court. The prisoner was initially confined at the fortress of Pignerol, located in northern Italy, territory then under French control. Pignerol was already notorious for housing significant political prisoners, including disgraced ministers and high-ranking figures who had fallen from favor. Placing the unknown prisoner there underlined his perceived political importance from the very beginning. Under the strict and watchful custody of a trusted jailer named Bénigne d'Auvergne de Saint-Mars, the prisoner's life became subject to meticulous oversight and rigidly enforced secrecy. Saint-Mars himself was carefully selected for his unwavering loyalty and discretion, having previously overseen the imprisonment of other sensitive prisoners. Throughout his imprisonment, the mysterious prisoner was transferred carefully from fortress to fortress, initially from Pignerol to the fortress of Exilles in 1681, then to the island fortress of Sainte-Marguerite in 1687, and finally, in 1698, to the infamous Bastille prison in Paris, where he would spend the remainder of his life until his death in 1703. What immediately drew attention from those involved, and later from historians, was the remarkably unusual and highly restrictive treatment of this particular prisoner. His identity was kept an absolute secret, deliberately concealed behind a velvet mask, a detail later romanticized by writers like Voltaire into the image of an iron mask. In reality, historical records indicate the mask was likely made of velvet or cloth, designed not for punishment, but purely to obscure his features and prevent any recognition. This peculiar and extraordinary measure was an indication of the prisoner's immense political sensitivity. His identity was apparently dangerous enough that even casual glimpses by guards or visitors had to be prevented. The strict secrecy surrounding his imprisonment was remarkable, even for a time known for political conspiracies, secretive negotiations, and clandestine alliances. Prison guards received explicit and unusual instructions. They were forbidden from speaking to him unless strictly necessary, never to mention anything related to external affairs or court politics, and to maintain his absolute isolation from other prisoners. Furthermore, his cell was carefully guarded and separated from those of other detainees, ensuring he never communicated or interacted with anyone else. Such extraordinary precautions were typically reserved only for prisoners of the highest political consequence, or those possessing sensitive knowledge that could threaten the stability of the monarchy itself. The first definitive mention of this mysterious prisoner comes from a carefully written letter in 1669 by François-Michel Le Tellier, the Marquis de Louvois, who was Louis XIV's influential minister of war and one of his closest advisors. This letter was addressed directly to Saint-Mars and outlined meticulous instructions regarding the handling and treatment of the prisoners. Louvois explicitly emphasized the necessity of absolute secrecy, stating that no person, regardless of rank or status, should be allowed to speak to the prisoner under any circumstances, nor should any correspondence, messages, or news be exchanged with the outside world. The instructions included provisions that only Saint-Mars himself should provide direct care or deliver meals to minimize any risk of information leaking out. Additionally, Louvois stipulated that the prisoner should be strictly confined, but treated with basic dignity, indicating the government's intention to keep him alive and healthy, yet invisible to the public eye. Over the centuries, numerous theories have emerged about the prisoner's true identity. The most famous and dramatic suggestion, popularized by writer Alexandre Dumas in his novel The Vicomte of Bragelonne, was that he was the king's twin brother, hidden away to prevent rival claims to the throne. While this theory is fascinating and filled with dramatic intrigue, historians have generally dismissed it due to lack of concrete evidence and historical records. Another popular candidate for the man in the Iron Mask's true identity was a nobleman named Eustache Dauger. Historians discovered that a man by this name was indeed imprisoned at Pignerol, and many historical documents reference Dauger explicitly in connection to slavery. However, his true crime and origins remain uncertain, and documents referring to him contain strange inconsistencies. Some historians argue Dauger was merely a valet involved in espionage or scandal at the French royal court. Others suggest Eustache Dauger was simply a pseudonym used to obscure the prisoner's real identity. Additional theories abound. Some scholars argue that the masked prisoner was an Italian diplomat or nobleman who discovered politically damaging information. Others suggest he was a French general or a noble who fell out of favor due to some embarrassing scandal or betrayal. Another theory holds that he was Louis XIV's true father or illegitimate relative, imprisoned to prevent embarrassment or threats to royal legitimacy. Each theory possesses intriguing possibilities, yet each ultimately lacks definitive proof, fueling further speculation and debate. The prisoner lived under these conditions for over 3 decades until his death in the Bastille on November 19, 1703. Upon his death, the prison authorities went to extraordinary lengths to ensure his identity remained hidden. Official records were meticulously altered or destroyed, his belongings were burned, and he was hastily buried under a pseudonym, Marchioli, without ceremony in the nearby church of St. Paul. The deliberate effort to erase every trace of his existence suggests a profound level of secrecy, perhaps one directly linked to the security of the French crown or state secrets. Historians attempting to unravel this mystery rely on scattered contemporary accounts, letters, and official documents. Voltaire, the renowned Enlightenment philosopher, was among the first to publicize the prisoner's story widely in the 18th century. While Voltaire introduced the idea that the prisoner wore an iron mask, historians now believe this was likely an embellishment, with the original mask more probably being made of velvet or cloth to hide his identity comfortably and securely. Still, Voltaire's dramatic retelling sparked public imagination, ensuring the prisoner's tale survived through centuries as a powerful legend. Efforts to conclusively identify the prisoner through archival research have continued into modern times, yet none have yielded definitive answers. A notable breakthrough occurred in the late 19th century when French historian Jules Lair discovered a cache of previously unknown letters referring to Eustache Dauger. Yet even these letters raised more questions than answers, as their ambiguous language and gaps in information provided few concrete conclusions. In recent decades, historians utilizing advanced research techniques, including archival analysis and modern forensic methods, have tried to settle the mystery. Researchers studying the handwriting and language used in letters about the prisoner have attempted to match them to other known documents, hoping to connect the prisoner's jailers and correspondents to other historical figures. Yet despite these efforts, the prisoner's true identity continues to elude historians, with each discovery simply fueling new questions rather than answers. Today, the man in the iron mask remains one of history's most enduring and enigmatic mysteries. His story continues to captivate imagination, inspiring novels, films, and countless historical studies. Despite centuries of research, historians have yet to definitively uncover his true identity, or the exact reasons behind his lifelong imprisonment. The extraordinary precautions taken to conceal this prisoner's identity, along with the deliberate destruction of nearly all evidence after his death, suggest he was undoubtedly someone of significant importance. Yet, precisely who this mysterious figure was, and why it was so crucial that his face never be seen again, remains lost within the shadows of France's past, silently urging historians to continue their search for the elusive truth. Just as the true identity of the man in the iron mask continues to fuel historical debate and speculation, so too does the legendary fate of the lost treasure of Lima. Shifting our gaze to 19th century Peru, a time of significant upheaval, we encounter a compelling mystery centered around vanished wealth and the enduring allure of discovery. In 1820, Lima, then the prosperous capital of the Spanish colony of Peru, faced a growing threat. Revolutionary forces, led by General José de San Martín, approached steadily, determined to liberate Peru from Spanish rule. As the revolutionaries advanced, Spanish officials and clergy feared the imminent seizure of the vast treasures accumulated by the Catholic Church and Spanish authorities over centuries. This treasure, said to be composed of vast amounts of gold, silver, precious gems, and intricate religious artifacts, represented not only immense wealth, but also religious and historical significance to the colonial authorities. Desperate to protect this treasure from the revolutionaries, the Viceroy of Lima and local church authorities devised a hurried plan. They entrusted Captain William Thompson, a British sea captain known for his reliability and naval skill, with safely transporting the entire treasure aboard his vessel, the Mary Dear, and safeguarding it until political stability could be restored. Thompson and his crew were tasked specifically with sailing far enough from Lima's shores to evade detection and to keep the treasure hidden until Spanish control was reestablished. Confident in Thompson's reputation, Spanish officials believed the treasure would return safely into their hands after the revolutionaries were repelled. However, as the ship sailed from Lima and disappeared beyond the horizon, Thompson's loyalty quickly unraveled. Faced with an unimaginable fortune, the temptation proved too great. Captain Thompson and his crew turned to piracy, seizing the precious cargo for themselves. They reportedly navigated to the remote and uninhabited Cocos Island, located approximately 550 kilometers, 340 miles, off Costa Rica's Pacific coast. According to historical accounts and legends, the pirates concealed the treasure within deep caves, carefully burying and hiding the immense wealth so it could remain safe until their return. The treasure's magnitude is said to have been staggering, encompassing solid gold statues, intricately decorated crosses and chalices, hundreds of precious gemstones, chests of silver coins, and countless jewels, originally intended to adorn Spanish churches and palaces. But Captain Thompson and his crew's act of betrayal would quickly catch up with them. Spanish naval vessels soon discovered and captured the Mary Dear. Thompson and his crew were arrested, imprisoned, and interrogated fiercely about the whereabouts of the stolen treasure. The crew members steadfastly refused to disclose any information, but under severe pressure, Thompson reportedly made a partial confession. He agreed to lead authorities to the hidden treasure on Cocos Island. Hoping to recover the immense fortune, Spanish officials transported Thompson back to the island, confident he would fulfill his promise. Yet upon arrival, Thompson seized a desperate chance to escape into the dense jungle, vanishing without revealing the treasure's precise location. Despite extensive searches, neither Thompson nor the treasure were ever found. In the years that followed, the lost treasure of Lima became the subject of endless speculation, fascination, and exploration. The allure of its hidden riches attracted countless adventurers, historians, and fortune seekers. Cocos Island, a lush, isolated paradise surrounded by treacherous ocean currents, became a legendary destination for expeditions, each believing they held the key to uncovering the immense fortune. Over the decades, treasure hunters descended upon the island, equipped with maps, legends, and various technological tools designed to penetrate the island's dense vegetation and subterranean caves. Some searches turned up intriguing clues, old tools, mysterious carvings on rocks, and buried objects of lesser value, but none uncovered the immense treasure itself. Each failed expedition further deepened the mystery, leaving treasure seekers wondering if they were chasing an elaborate myth, or if the immense wealth truly lay concealed beneath the tropical soil. Despite multiple efforts, no one conclusively confirmed the treasure's existence or its exact location, although several tantalizing accounts suggest that some artifacts may have surfaced over the years without clear provenance. fueling speculation further. Some modern historians have questioned parts of the legend, suggesting that historical accounts may have exaggerated the treasure's scale, or that portions of it were secretly recovered by early expeditions. Yet, documented testimonies from the period strongly indicate the authenticity of the cargo and the genuine existence of a vast, carefully hidden fortune. Official records from the Spanish authorities, along with testimonies and confessions from members of Thompson's crew, provide compelling evidence supporting the legitimacy of this legendary treasure. Today, the lost treasure of Lima remains one of the world's most enduring historical mysteries. Its legend endures precisely because of its combination of historical reality and persistent uncertainty. Each year, new theories emerge, and fresh expeditions set out toward Cocos Island, hoping to succeed where others failed. Advances in technology, ground-penetrating radar, advanced sonar, and drone surveillance have all been utilized in modern-day searches, yet the exact location remains undiscovered. Even now, nearly 2 centuries after Captain Thompson's betrayal and disappearance, the vast fortune remains concealed, awaiting discovery by someone lucky or determined enough to uncover its secrets. The lost treasure of Lima represents more than just material wealth. It symbolizes the shifting tides of history, colonial struggles, and the enduring human fascination with hidden fortunes. Its story vividly captures the tension and turmoil of 19th century South America, marked by revolution, upheaval, and the waning days of Spanish imperial power. The treasure, once destined for Spanish coffers and lavish church ceremonies, instead became an elusive legend, capturing imaginations and inspiring generations of explorers drawn to the distant shores of Cocos Island in search of riches long concealed beneath the earth. England holds its share of historical puzzles, and the tale of the Pollock sisters stands as a particularly compelling one, not for lost artifacts or grand historical events, but for the unsettling questions it raises about the human mind and the potential for phenomena that transcend typical understanding. This small-town story has resonated for decades, intriguing those who seek answers beyond the conventional boundaries of science. In the sleepy town of Hexham, in Northumberland, England, John and Florence Pollock lived a seemingly typical family life. They were loving parents to their 2 young daughters, Joanna and Jacqueline. Life was happy and peaceful until tragedy abruptly struck in May 1957. On their way to church, the 2 girls, Joanna, aged 11, and Jacqueline, aged 6, were tragically killed when a car suddenly lost control, striking them on the sidewalk. The heartbreaking loss deeply impacted their parents, who grieved profoundly for their beloved daughters. Amazingly, despite the profound trauma, John Pollock maintained a persistent belief in reincarnation, convinced that somehow his daughters would return to him. Florence, his wife, remained skeptical, attributing John's belief to wishful thinking, born of grief. However, the following year, their lives took a turn that surprised both of them. Florence became pregnant again, and the couple learned they were expecting twins. While twins were not uncommon, the Pollocks had no known history of multiple births in their family, which made the arrival of twins especially surprising. Nonetheless, John remained confident in his belief that these twins were the reincarnations of Joanna and Jacqueline, returning to him once more. On October 4th, 1958, Jillian and Jennifer Pollock were born, identical twin girls who immediately became the focus of their parents' attention. From birth, the girls displayed peculiar physical marks that baffled their parents and doctors alike. Jennifer had a distinctive birthmark on her forehead, exactly matching a scar Jacqueline had sustained from a childhood accident. Another birthmark on her waist mirrored one that Jacqueline also bore. The physical similarities were unusual enough, but as the twins grew older, their behaviors added further mystery. When Jillian and Jennifer reached the age where they began to speak, their parents noticed odd and unsettling details. Despite never being informed about Joanna and Jacqueline, the twins would spontaneously request toys and belongings that had belonged to their deceased sisters, objects that had long been hidden away in storage. When presented with these items, the girls would divide them exactly as Joanna and Jacqueline had, without hesitation or discussion. Even more strangely, they accurately named toys and dolls belonging to their sisters, displaying an uncanny familiarity with objects they had never seen before. At the age of 4, the Pollock family revisited Hudson, having moved away shortly after the tragic accident. Remarkably, the twins seemed intimately familiar with the town, pointing out landmarks and locations they had never visited before. They recognized the school Joanna and Jacqueline had attended, and identified their favorite playgrounds and streets with startling accuracy. Perhaps most chilling was the twins' visiting fear. They would cling to their parents in terror when vehicles approached, shouting warnings of danger. John and Florence were increasingly astonished and unnerved by the mounting evidence that suggested a connection between their lost daughters and their new twin girls. The case of the Pollock sisters soon caught the attention of researchers interested in phenomena that appeared to support reincarnation. Dr. Ian Stevenson, a noted psychiatrist from the University of Virginia, known for investigating alleged reincarnation cases, closely studied Jillian and Jennifer's behavior. Stevenson documented numerous instances where the twins displayed memories or knowledge that seemed impossible to explain through conventional means. He carefully ruled out deliberate deception, believing that the Pollocks themselves were genuinely bewildered and sincere in their experiences. Yet, despite the intriguing nature of his findings, Stevenson remained cautious, unable to conclusively prove the existence of reincarnation through scientific means. As Jillian and Jennifer grew older, their memories and behaviors linking them to Joanna and Jacqueline gradually faded. By the age of 7, their unusual recollections and habits had almost entirely disappeared. The twins themselves retained little to no memory of the experiences that had so fascinated their parents and researchers in their early childhood. Their lives moved forward normally, and the family eventually regained a sense of ordinary peace, albeit marked by their unique past experiences. Despite extensive documentation and research, the Pollock sisters' story remains debated to this day. For some, the case represents compelling evidence supporting reincarnation, or an extraordinary psychological phenomenon known as cryptomnesia, where forgotten memories subconsciously resurface. Supporters of reincarnation theories highlight specific aspects, such as the distinct birthmarks matching injuries sustained by Jacqueline, as potential physical evidence of reincarnation. Researchers investigating similar phenomena, particularly Dr. Ian Stevenson from the University of Virginia, have documented numerous other cases worldwide involving children who claim memories of past lives, often accompanied by matching birthmarks or physical traits. Skeptics, however, propose more conventional explanations. Psychological theories suggest that grieving parents could subconsciously influence their children's behavior, unintentionally prompting or reinforcing coincidences or behaviors reminiscent of lost loved ones. Another psychological interpretation is that John Pollock's firm belief in reincarnation may have indirectly shaped his children's perception, guiding them toward behaviors that aligned with their deceased siblings, albeit unintentionally. Additionally, critics argue that anecdotal evidence and retrospective accounts can often be influenced by selective memory or exaggeration over time, particularly in emotionally charged cases. Further complicating the story, skeptics also point to the possibility of confirmation bias, where the family and investigators inadvertently emphasize behaviors or incidents that match their expectations, while unconsciously ignoring contradictory evidence. It's also proposed that the twins could have overheard conversations between their parents or other family members about Joanna and Jacqueline, unconsciously absorbing details and repeating them later as their own memories. To explore these questions further, several additional studies have been conducted over the years on cases similar to the Pollock sisters. Dr. Stevenson, who dedicated much of his career to studying reincarnation, published numerous detailed accounts documenting children recalling past lives, particularly focusing on birthmarks as potential connections to previous identities. His comprehensive research, spanning decades and multiple cultures, has yet to yield universally accepted conclusions but continues to provoke serious consideration within academic circles. Other psychologists have investigated the broader implications of trauma, grief, and parental influence on childhood development, arguing that profound emotional loss can deeply shape family dynamics and memory formation, sometimes in unexpected and uncanny ways. Moreover, neuroscientific research has attempted to understand cryptomnesia and related phenomena. Studies have indicated that the human brain has a remarkable capacity for memory retention and subconscious recall, even of seemingly forgotten events. The Pollock twins' behavior might be partially explained by such unconscious memory retrieval mechanisms, highlighting the complex and not yet fully understood relationship between memory, identity, and consciousness. Over time, the Pollock sisters' case became one of the most thoroughly documented and discussed stories in studies of reincarnation and paranormal phenomena. Despite rigorous examination, no clear consensus has emerged, leaving their story a fascinating puzzle that continues to provoke thoughtful debates within psychological, scientific, and spiritual circles. The account of Gillian and Jennifer Pollock stands as a rare, compelling narrative, a story not just of grief and loss, but also of extraordinary possibilities and mysteries that remain tantalizingly unresolved, encouraging continued exploration into the profound depths of human memory, identity, and belief. Moving away from the intriguing and mysterious memories of the Pollock sisters, we now venture into another cryptic historical puzzle, an ancient manuscript that has baffled experts for centuries. Known as the Voynich manuscript, this peculiar book has resisted all attempts at decoding, safeguarding its secrets within pages that have confounded historians, linguists, and cryptographers alike. Discovered in 1912 by rare book dealer Wilfrid Voynich among a hidden collection at the Villa Mondragone, a Jesuit college near Rome, the Voynich manuscript immediately sparked intrigue and curiosity. Voynich, an avid collector and expert in rare manuscripts, recognized its uniqueness immediately. The manuscript was like nothing he had encountered before. Carbon dating conducted in 2009 confirmed the manuscript was created between 1404 and 1438, placing its origins firmly within the late Middle Ages. Yet, despite this precise dating, the manuscript's exact geographical origins and authorship remain entirely unknown. Comprising around 240 pages, crafted from fine quality vellum, calfskin to carefully prepared and smooth for writing, the Voynich manuscript is meticulously illustrated and intricately written. Its size is modest, approximately 23 by 16 centimeters, which would have made it portable and perhaps intended for personal use or private study. The manuscript's pages are beautifully preserved, with some evidence of handling, aging, and repairs indicate it was used, consulted, and cherished by successive owners over centuries. Perhaps most fascinating is its script, known to scholars as Voynichese. This writing is fluid and graceful, suggesting a practiced hand, yet the symbols and letters bear no resemblance to any known language or script from the period. The text is arranged neatly into paragraphs, divided by clear margins, and organized into what appear to be coherent chapters or sections. The meticulous layout indicates a deliberate and purposeful construction, suggesting the manuscript was not merely an artistic curiosity, but rather a document intended to communicate specific, if mysterious, information. Some letters repeat frequently, while others rarely appear, patterns typically found in natural languages, leading linguists and cryptographers alike to invest years in attempting to decode it, yet all to no avail. The Voynich manuscript's pages overflow with hundreds of remarkable illustrations, vividly painted in vibrant colors, using inks and pigments typical of medieval Europe. These illustrations, however, compound the manuscript's mystery rather than resolve it. Detailed botanical drawings fill many pages, depicting plants that seem at first glance familiar, yet defy positive identification upon closer examination. The leaves, stems, roots, and flowers are illustrated with careful attention to detail, yet scholars find no exact matches to known botanical specimens, leading some researchers to speculate the plants are allegorical, symbolic, or entirely fictional creations representing mystical or alchemical properties. In addition to botanical imagery, the manuscript contains elaborate astronomical and astrological diagrams. Circular charts resembling zodiac wheels depict constellations, suns, moons, and intricate celestial arrangements. Yet these diagrams do not align perfectly with any recognized astronomical traditions of the time, including those used by European, Arabic, or Asian astronomers. This has sparked theories that the manuscript might represent a unique, undocumented astrological tradition, or an attempt to convey cosmic or esoteric knowledge through symbolism known only to a small, secretive group. The manuscript also features bizarre human figures, often nude, bathing in elaborate interconnected pools or performing mysterious rituals, accompanied by strange pipes and water channels. These illustrations, often called the balneological section, appear to represent scenes of healing, spiritual cleansing, or mystical rites, but their precise meaning or purpose remains wholly speculative. Scholars have debated whether these scenes depict metaphorical journeys, health practices, rituals related to water symbolism, or are simply fantastical imagery designed to illustrate some deeper, hidden message known only to the author. The earliest recorded owner of the manuscript was Emperor Rudolf II, who ruled as Holy Roman Emperor from his lavish court in Prague. Rudolf II was famous for his eccentric interests in alchemy, astrology, the occult, and mysterious artifacts, surrounding himself with Europe's leading scholars, alchemists, and astrologers. During his reign, 1576 to 1612, Rudolf amassed an extraordinary collection of curiosities, rare books, and manuscripts, hoping to unlock hidden knowledge or divine wisdom. The Voynich manuscript, with its unintelligible script and puzzling illustrations, fit perfectly within his esoteric interests. After Rudolf's death, his library and collection were dispersed, passing through the hands of numerous scholars, collectors, and noble families across Europe. Eventually, in the 17th century, the manuscript found its way into the collections of Athanasius Kircher, a prominent Jesuit scholar and polymath who was fascinated by ancient scripts and cryptography. Kircher himself attempted unsuccessfully to decode the manuscript, and after his death, it was stored among the Jesuits' extensive archives until Voynich uncovered it nearly 2 centuries later. Throughout the 20th century, the manuscript attracted numerous efforts at decoding. Professional cryptographers, linguistic experts, and even military codebreakers from both world wars attempted to solve the puzzle, employing every known method of linguistic and cryptographic analysis. Notably, William Friedman, one of America's leading cryptanalysts, who successfully deciphered Japanese ciphers during World War II, dedicated years to the manuscript's study. Despite his skill and persistence, he was unable to unravel its secrets, including that it was one of the most complex and baffling puzzles he had ever encountered. Various theories have emerged regarding the manuscript's origins and content. Some suggest it might be a coded alchemical treatise, hiding formulas and recipes beneath layers of obscure symbolism. Others propose it could be an elaborate medieval herbal created by a forgotten culture or an isolated scholarly community, describing unknown plants and their uses. Another popular theory is that the manuscript is a hoax, crafted centuries ago to deceive or amuse its intended audience. Though the elaborate detail and complexity make this theory less widely accepted among serious scholars. In recent years, modern technology has provided new avenues of exploration. Advanced imaging techniques, multispectral analysis, and computer algorithms have been used to detect hidden layers or alterations within the manuscript's pages. Computer linguists have attempted statistical analyses of the text, looking for grammatical patterns or recurring linguistic structures. While these studies have revealed intriguing patterns suggesting the text is likely not random or meaningless, no definitive translation or interpretation has emerged from this high-tech approach. Efforts to understand the Voynich manuscript continue to this day, driven by curiosity, scholarly challenge, and the enduring allure of historical mysteries. Each new attempt, whether employing the latest technology or traditional scholarly methods, brings the possibility that the manuscript's secrets might finally be revealed. Until then, this ancient book remains silent, guarding its secrets carefully, a tantalizing testament to the depth and complexity of history's enduring mysteries. The undeciphered script of the Voynich manuscript presents a puzzle for the mind. Now, our exploration shifts to a more tangible, though equally elusive, historical target, the final resting place of a legendary warrior. Deep within the plains and forests of Eastern Europe lies the rumored and as yet undiscovered tomb of Attila the Hun, a mystery steeped in ancient secrecy. Known to the Romans as the Scourge of God, Attila the Hun emerged in the early 5th century CE as one of history's most formidable and feared leaders. Born around 406 CE, Attila and his brother Bleda inherited leadership of the Huns following the death of their uncle Rugila in 434 CE. Initially sharing power, the brothers embarked on a series of ruthless campaigns, raiding and subjugating tribes across Central and Eastern Europe. However, in 445 CE, under unclear circumstances, Bleda died. Many historians suggest he was assassinated on Attila's orders, though concrete proof remains elusive. With his brother's death, Attila became the sole and undisputed ruler of the Hunnic Empire. Under Attila's leadership, the Huns transformed into an exceptionally organized and feared fighting force, renowned for their speed, mobility, and devastating tactics. Their success hinged primarily on cavalry warfare, utilizing swift, horse-mounted archers who could quickly encircle enemies, deliver lethal attacks, and withdraw before opponents had the chance to respond effectively. These tactics proved devastating against traditional Roman legions and heavily fortified settlements. During Attila's reign, the Hun Empire stretched across an enormous territory, spanning from the Ural River in the east to the Rhine River in the west, and from the Baltic Sea in the north down to the Danube and Black Sea regions in the south. Tribes and kingdoms throughout this vast expanse paid substantial tribute to Attila, providing him with immense wealth and power. His reputation as a fierce warrior and unyielding leader spread rapidly, ensuring submission from many rivals without the need for prolonged conflict. Attila's campaigns against the Roman Empire are particularly notable in history. In 441 CE, seizing upon the Roman Empire's vulnerability due to internal strife and external threats, Attila launched major invasions into the Eastern Roman Empire, also known as the Byzantine Empire, devastating territories in the Balkans and laying siege to key cities such as Constantinople's suburbs. His relentless attacks forced the Roman Emperor Theodosius II into humiliating negotiations and costly payments of tribute. These invasions left the Eastern Roman Empire weakened and financially drained, highlighting Attila's dominance over Europe's most established powers. Perhaps Attila's most infamous campaign was his incursion into the Western Roman Empire in 451 CE. This invasion culminated in the legendary Battle of the Catalaunian Plains near modern-day Châlons-en-Champagne, France. Attila faced a massive coalition army composed of Romans under General Flavius Aetius, alongside Visigoths, Franks, and various other tribes who temporarily united against the Huns. The battle was fierce, resulting in staggering casualties on both sides, yet it concluded without a definitive victory for either army. Attila withdrew to regroup, temporarily ending his advance into Western Europe. Undeterred by this stalemate, Attila soon turned southward, invading Italy directly in 452 CE. His forces swept through northern Italy, capturing and looting major cities like Aquileia, Milan, and Pavia. Rome itself appeared vulnerable, prompting widespread panic within the empire. According to historical accounts, Attila halted his advance toward Rome after encountering Pope Leo I, though whether this was due to diplomatic negotiation, supply problems, disease among troops, or superstition remains debated. Regardless, Attila returned eastward, sparing Rome and leaving behind a trail of devastation that profoundly impacted the Roman world. Aside from military campaigns, Attila's personal and political life was complex. Historical records suggest he maintained multiple wives and fathered numerous children, reflecting customary practices among powerful nomadic rulers. Diplomatically shrewd, Attila regularly negotiated with various kingdoms and empires, extracting tribute and forming strategic alliances when beneficial. His court was described as lavish yet militaristic, with envoys from distant lands bringing gifts, tributes, and diplomatic overtures. The historian Priscus of Panium, who visited Attila's court in 449 CE as part of a diplomatic mission, offered vivid descriptions, noting Attila's authoritative presence, simple yet dignified attire, and the disciplined manner of his court and warriors. Yet, despite his considerable achievements and terrifying reputation, Attila's life abruptly ended in 453 CE. Historical accounts vary on the exact details, but most scholars reference the historian Jordanes' account, which states that Attila died suddenly after celebrating his marriage to a young Gothic bride named Ildiko. Reportedly, Attila had celebrated excessively during the wedding feast, retiring to bed intoxicated. The next morning, his attendants discovered him dead, with blood streaming from his nose. Speculation ranges widely regarding the precise cause. Possible explanations include a fatal nosebleed, choking on his own blood, internal bleeding due to heavy drinking, or even assassination via poisoning. Though some contemporaries suspected foul play, no concrete evidence has emerged to definitively solve the mystery of his death. Attila's sudden demise threw his empire into immediate chaos as his sons and subordinates swiftly engaged in bitter internal conflicts. Without Attila's commanding presence, the once formidable Hun Empire fractured rapidly, disintegrating into smaller factions. The swift dissolution of his empire emphasizes how profoundly Attila's leadership and personal charisma had bound together the diverse tribes and territories under whom control. According to historical accounts, Attila's funeral was a grand spectacle, demonstrating both the reverence and secrecy that surrounded him. Jordanes described vividly how Attila was placed in 3 coffins, a golden coffin inside a silver coffin, which was then enclosed in an iron one, symbolizing his immense wealth, power, and the respect he commanded. This triple coffin was then interred deep beneath the earth in a secret location, chosen carefully by his most trusted followers. To ensure that Attila's resting place remained forever hidden from outsiders, the slaves who dug the tomb were reportedly executed immediately after its completion, guaranteeing that no living soul would ever reveal the tomb's location. Stories surrounding Attila's tomb grew over centuries, as scholars and treasure seekers alike became fascinated by the immense wealth and priceless artifacts thought to be buried in one side. Legends spoke of untold gold and precious jewels, weapons, ornaments, and countless treasures plundered from his raids on Roman territory. These rumors only intensified the interest in uncovering Attila's burial site, igniting numerous searches and excavations across the Hungarian plains and surrounding regions. Historians have widely debated the probable locations of Attila's secret tomb. Many suggest it may be situated somewhere within modern-day Hungary, particularly in the Great Hungarian Plain, an expansive area historically associated with the Huns. Several local legends pinpoint the region surrounding the Tisza River as a possible burial site, asserting that the tomb was cleverly concealed beneath riverbeds or marshes, carefully chosen for their shifting landscapes and natural protection from discovery. Over the years, numerous expeditions have attempted to locate the hidden grave. During the 19th and 20th centuries, amateur archaeologists, historians, and treasure hunters conducted exhaustive searches along the banks of rivers, within remote forests, and across expansive grasslands. But despite their efforts, not a single trace of Attila's tomb has been conclusively identified. Modern archaeological techniques, such as aerial photography, ground-penetrating radar, and satellite imagery, have been applied in recent decades, but these too have failed to produce tangible evidence of the legendary burial site. While definitive evidence remains elusive, historical documents provide glimpses into the burial practices of nomadic peoples like the Huns. Typically, these burials included elaborate ceremonies, extensive grave goods, and strategic concealment, particularly the leaders of Attila's magnitude. Archaeological discoveries across Central Asia and Eastern Europe indicate that prominent nomadic rulers were indeed often buried with significant treasures, weapons, and ritual objects. This lends historical credibility to the legends surrounding Attila's burial. One notable theory proposes that Attila's grave was intentionally located in a remote, inaccessible area. Supporters of this theory argue that Attila's followers deliberately chose a site that was difficult to access, then erased all visual traces of burial activity, leaving only vague clues for later generations. Other theories suggest that the tomb was hidden beneath flowing rivers or marshes, which would naturally alter their courses over time, further obscuring the site from discovery. This method of concealment was a known practice among various nomadic groups, adding weight to such hypotheses. In addition to theories and expeditions seeking Attila's tomb, the legend itself has deeply influenced Hungarian culture and identity. Attila is often portrayed as a heroic ancestor figure in Hungarian folklore, and numerous sites across Hungary claim connections to the legendary leader. Villages and towns in the region proudly reference their proximity to possible burial sites, keeping alive local traditions and legends passed down through generations. While the existence of Attila's tomb itself is widely accepted among historians, the precise location, condition, and contents of the burial remain purely speculative. Archaeologists caution that even if Attila's tomb were eventually found, centuries of flooding, erosion, and geological changes might have destroyed or dispersed much of the physical evidence. Still, the possibility of uncovering this historically significant site remains a tantalizing prospect, as any genuine discovery would undoubtedly offer profound insights into Hun culture, burial practices, and the historical figure himself. Thus, the search for Attila's tomb continues to captivate imaginations. Whether the burial holds vast treasures or simply offers valuable historical context, the tomb's elusive nature has ensured that it remains one of history's most enduring and intriguing mysteries. Its undiscovered status symbolizes the life of Attila himself, powerful, feared, revered, yet ultimately unknowable, lost within the folds of history, concealed beneath the earth, and waiting, perhaps eternally, to be uncovered. Just as the secrecy surrounding Attila's burial continues to intrigue those who study ancient history, so too does the bizarre tale that unfolded in the rural English village of Woolpit during the 12th century. This medieval case, documented by contemporary chroniclers, offers a glimpse into a world where the unusual was often intertwined with the everyday, creating a mystery that still resists definitive explanation. According to historical accounts by chroniclers such as Ralph of Coggeshall and William of Newbury, a strange tale began on an ordinary day during the harvest season. As villagers went about their routine work, two children suddenly emerged from the surrounding woods, appearing confused, frightened, and most startlingly, completely green in color. Their skin had a distinct greenish hue, unlike anything the villagers had ever seen before. Both children, a boy and a girl, wore clothing made of unfamiliar material and spoke a language completely unknown to the villagers. Bewildered by their sudden appearance, the villagers brought them into town, where their strange appearance and unfamiliar speech quickly drew curiosity and concern from the entire community. At first, the children refused all food offered to them, seemingly bewildered by the villagers' simple diet. Eventually, after several attempts, they discovered and eagerly consumed raw, broad beans. Gradually, over weeks and months, the children adapted to local food, which slowly diminished the unnatural green tint of their skin. Unfortunately, despite improving in health and diet, the boy grew weaker and eventually passed away, leaving only his sister alive. With time, the surviving girl gradually learned enough English to communicate with the villagers. When she was finally able to speak coherently, she told them an incredible story that puzzled the villagers even further. According to her account, she and her brother came from a land called Saint, Martin's land, a strange realm where the sun never fully shone and everything appeared bathed in perpetual twilight. In this place, she explained, all people shared their distinctive green color. She described how she and her brother had been tending livestock when they heard the distant sound of bells coming from an unknown direction. Drawn by curiosity, they had followed the enchanting sounds through a cavern passageway, eventually emerging near Woolpit, where the villagers first discovered them. Over time, the girl adjusted to life in Woolpit, losing her green complexion entirely, and eventually adopting local customs and culture. She was baptized, given the name Agnes, and later married a man from a neighboring town, reportedly living a normal life afterward. Despite integrating fully into society, the mystery of her origin never fully faded. Historians and scholars continue to grapple with the strange details she described, details too specific and consistent to dismiss as mere fantasy or childhood imagination. Researchers over the centuries have proposed several theories attempting to explain the Green Children's origins. One prominent explanation suggests that they were Flemish immigrants or orphans who had become separated from their parents, wandering through unfamiliar terrain and eventually stumbling upon Woolpit. This theory notes that Flemish immigrants, fleeing conflicts or persecution, were known to have settled in the region around that time. The children's strange clothing, unfamiliar speech, and confusion might thus be explained as simply the result of cultural differences in their stressful journey. Their initial green complexion could be attributed to a condition called chlorosis, historically associated with malnutrition and anemia, common among impoverished or displaced children of the area. Another theory proposes that the children were from a remote and isolated village nearby, perhaps one situated underground or in a secluded valley, giving rise to the idea of a dimly lit land of perpetual twilight. According to this perspective, the bells they followed might have been those of Woolpit's own church or another nearby settlement. Yet another interpretation views the story more symbolically, suggesting that the account was an allegorical narrative crafted by chroniclers to reflect anxieties or lessons about encountering foreign cultures or unknown people. However, no single theory has managed to completely resolve the contradictions and mysteries within the historical accounts. The village of Woolpit itself has preserved the story as an important part of its cultural heritage. Its very name is said to come from the Old English wolf pit, meaning wolf pit, a reference to ancient pits dug to trap wolves. Some accounts suggest the children may have emerged from one of these wolf pits, adding further intrigue to the tale. Even today, the village church still bears symbols and decorations commemorating the appearance of the Green Children, preserving their memory and intriguing visitors who learn about the remarkable event. In modern times, the story of the Green Children of Woolpit remains a unique medieval story. Scholars continue examining medieval documents, linguistic evidence, folklore, and historical context, hoping to unravel the tale. Some have proposed more speculative theories, including the possibility that the children were survivors of poisoning, environmental contamination, or even deliberate experimentation. Yet despite modern science and historical research efforts, no definitive explanation has emerged, leaving the story just as puzzling now as it was when the villagers first encountered these strange, green-skinned siblings. Ultimately, the Green Children of Woolpit continue to capture the imagination precisely because the story resists easy categorization or straightforward explanation. Whether viewed as historical fact, an exaggerated allegory, or a piece of enduring folklore, the tale stands as a striking example of medieval Europe's complicated relationship with outsiders, mysteries, and the unknown. The story remains a remarkable window into the fears, curiosities, and cultural complexities of the Middle Ages, continuing to invite us to reflect on the mysteries of our shared human past. From the curious tale of Woolpit's mysterious green children, we now journey further westward, toward the rugged coastlines and mist-shrouded shores of Cornwall in southwestern England, where another legendary mystery awaits, the lost kingdom of Lyonesse. According to centuries-old folklore, Lyonesse was an enchanting kingdom, abundant and prosperous, said to lie off the southwestern tip of Britain, somewhere between Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly. Richly fertile and famously beautiful, Lyonesse is described in ancient tales as a land of thriving villages, verdant pastures, grand cities, and numerous churches. But what makes Lyonesse particularly intriguing, and ultimately tragic, is the claim that this flourishing kingdom was lost beneath the sea in a single devastating catastrophe. Stories of Lyonesse date back to medieval times, intertwined closely with Arthurian legends and Celtic folklore. In these early accounts, Lyonesse was frequently depicted as the homeland of Tristan, one of the central figures in the enduring medieval romance of Tristan and Isolde. Tristan, the nephew of the legendary King Mark of Cornwall, was said to have originated from this mysterious land, linking Lyonesse firmly to the fabric of Celtic and Arthurian tradition. The renowned medieval poet Thomas Malory, in his influential work Le Morte d'Arthur, written in the late 15th century, vividly portrays Lyonesse as a wealthy and fertile kingdom that tragically vanished beneath the waves. According to Cornish legends and various medieval chronicles, Lyonesse's demise occurred suddenly and catastrophically. Overwhelmed overnight by a violent storm, a massive tidal wave consumed entire towns, villages, and populations. This dramatic event, often dated vaguely to a distant past beyond precise historical memory, was said to have permanently reshaped the geography of southwestern Britain. What was once described as a broad, prosperous stretch of land, linking Cornwall with what are now the Isles of Scilly, supposedly sank beneath the Atlantic, leaving only fragmented islands and coastal headlands as mournful remnants of a once mighty kingdom. Throughout history, coastal communities in Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly preserve these vivid and haunting oral traditions with remarkable detail. Generations of fishermen, sailors, and villagers shared stories that on rare, calm days, particularly when the waters between Cornwall and the Scillies were crystal clear, one could peer into the depths and make out submerged ruins of Lyonesse. These underwater visions included ancient stone walls, well-defined roads, church spires, and even houses, structures hinting at a sophisticated civilization lost beneath the ocean. Adding to this eerie atmosphere, sailors often reported hearing ghostly church bells ringing from submerged bell towers, resonating across the waters, especially during quiet, foggy nights. Historical evidence supporting such dramatic claims is intriguing, though largely circumstantial. Ancient Roman and medieval maps occasionally depicted islands and landmasses off the southwestern coast of Britain that no longer appear today, hinting at significant changes in coastal geography over centuries. The earliest known written mention of Lyonesse appears in the medieval chronicles, notably those by William of Worcester in the 15th century, who described a substantial flooding event between Cornwall and the Scillies. In addition, Cornwall's rich folklore, captured and preserved by 19th century antiquarians and folklorists, consistently references Lyonesse, keeping the legend alive through careful documentation and popular retellings. Historical records document actual major flooding events that might lend credence to the legend of Lyonesse. Medieval annals describe devastating storms striking southwestern England with unusual frequency and violence, particularly in the 11th and 12th centuries. The Great Flood of 1099, documented by medieval chroniclers, reportedly submerged significant areas of coastal land around Mounts Bay, a region close to the purported site of Lyonesse. Another major storm in 1287 inundated large sections of the southern English coastline, dramatically altering the landscape and possibly fueling stories of a larger submerged kingdom. Geologically, the story of Lyonesse may have its roots in real historical phenomena. Researchers studying the sea levels around Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly have identified significant evidence of past submergence and coastal erosion. Marine archaeologists, using modern sonar mapping and underwater surveys, have uncovered the remains of submerged forests, ancient peat beds, and evidence of human settlements now lying underwater. In places such as Mounts Bay near Penzance, divers have documented submerged tree stumps, ancient trackways, and foundations of stone structures, all clear indications that coastal lands inhabited by people thousands of years ago now rest beneath the waves. Archaeologists and geologists theorize that rising sea levels during the end of the last ice age, approximately 10,000 years ago, combined with later storms and erosion events in medieval times, gradually submerged these coastal settlements. Over centuries, these memories of catastrophic floods and vanished landscapes became interwoven into local legends, resulting in the narrative of Lyonesse, an idealized lost kingdom embodying the dangers and uncertainties faced by communities living on exposed coasts. Moreover, Lyonesse shares similarities with other legendary lost lands, such as Atlantis in Greek tradition, or Weiss from Breton folklore, reflecting a broader European cultural motif of submerged kingdoms, serving as cautionary tales of nature's power and human vulnerability. Lyonesse's enduring presence in popular imagination was strengthened through literature and poetry, notably during the Victorian era, when romantic fascination with medieval and Arthurian lore reached its zenith. Poets like Alfred, Lord Tennyson referenced Lyonesse in their works, further cementing its place within British literary culture. Despite its prominence in folklore, historians and archaeologists have long debated the truth behind the legend of Lyonesse. Some researchers argue that Lyonesse was simply a myth, an imaginative story created to explain the mysterious submerged landscapes visible off Cornwall's coast. Others, however, propose a more historical foundation, suggesting that Lyonesse might be based on real events. Geological studies have revealed evidence of rising sea levels and coastal erosion occurring around the southwestern shores of England over the past few thousand years. Some researchers theorize that dramatic flooding events could indeed have submerged ancient settlements, leading to the creation of a lasting myth about a lost kingdom. Supporting these theories, divers and marine archaeologists exploring the waters around Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly have discovered intriguing underwater features, including ancient stone walls, roads, and submerged forests preserved beneath the sea. At places like Mounts Bay near Penzance, researchers have uncovered remnants of prehistoric forests and settlements lying underwater, clear signs of ancient lands once inhabited, but now lost beneath rising seas. Such discoveries lend credibility to the idea that substantial coastal flooding or erosion might have inspired the legend of Lyonesse. In fact, medieval accounts recorded catastrophic storms striking the coastlines of Cornwall, with some chroniclers describing devastating floods that swallowed entire villages, providing historical parallels to the legendary sinking of Lyonesse. Other scholars have explored the possibility that the myth of Lyonesse might have been influenced by distant memories of lost Celtic lands and cultures, similar to the legends of Atlantis or other vanished civilizations. Some historians suggest that stories of Lyonesse represent a symbolic narrative, reflecting ancient people's anxieties about changing coastlines, unpredictable seas, and lost territories. Yet despite these rational explanations, the romance and mystery surrounding Lyonesse persist, capturing imaginations and fueling continued fascination. Numerous efforts have been made over the years to locate and explore the supposed ruins of Lyonesse beneath the waves. Maritime explorers, historians, and divers have searched the seabed for definitive evidence, hoping to confirm once and for all whether Lyonesse was a historical kingdom or simply a myth. These expeditions have yielded intriguing finds, stone formations, submerged woodlands, ancient paths leading into the sea, but no unequivocal proof of a lost kingdom. The ocean remains reluctant to yield its secrets, preserving the mystery of Lyonesse beneath its depths. Today, the story of Lyonesse continues to thrive in literature, poetry, music, and popular imagination. It remains an essential part of Cornish heritage, celebrated in local festivals and remembered in place names and cultural traditions. Writers and artists have drawn inspiration from the tale, producing works that romanticize its lost cities and the tragic fate of its inhabitants. Tourism in Cornwall also benefits from the mystique surrounding Lyonesse, attracting visitors who seek to experience firsthand the landscapes and coastlines associated with this legendary tale. Ultimately, whether Lyonesse was a real historical land, a myth rooted in ancient geological events, or simply a poetic creation, the story endures because it resonates deeply with human fascination about lost worlds and vanished civilizations. The possibility that such a kingdom might once have existed beneath familiar waters keeps the legend alive, a testament to the enduring power of mystery and folklore in shaping our understanding of history and our imagination.